We are back on the Rational Boomer podcast. Hopefully, your day is going well. By the time you hear this, it will be Saturday.
Yay.
Now, no, it'll be Sunday.
Sunday,
It'll
because
be
we
Sunday.
said,
I'm all screwed up here because Ed was supposed to be on yesterday, and then Ed had a family emergency and couldn't do it. So I did
right.
one of those text shows where I answer the text messages. So that was yesterday. This is today. You're listening to it on Sunday, in spite of the fact that we're recording it Friday night. Now, if you can understand what I just said, uh, this is like a fucking AP class. You should get college credit for that shit.
Right.
Um, anyway, I'm glad to have you here. Will, we're in the weekend now, and we went through what we went through last week, and
Oh,
the most recent thing, unless they've unless unless between the time we record this and the time you hear it, that America has attacked Iran. The top story has been the Clintons testifying in Washington, D.C. And what are your thoughts about how all that went?
it went exactly as we thought it would go.
Yeah,
Actually, they didn't even do it in D.C., they did it in New York. The
right,
Clintons made them come to New York.
right.
If they did it public, they probably would have gone to D.C., but they want to do it in private. They made them come to them. But he was exactly what I thought. I mean, Hillary on Thursday was like, I didn't know the man. I have no idea what you're talking about. And they grilled her for hours because they hate her. That's the old boogeyman for years. That's been their
Yeah,
thing for years. And if it wasn't Benghazi, it was her emails. Now this, but she has no connection to Epstein. I mean, she did bring out, if you're talking about, I never met him, but why aren't you talking to Lutkin? Why aren't you talking to Trump? Why aren't you talking to Melania Trump? She dropped Melania's name in there. And I thought, ooh, that's such a bitchy thing to do. I love that. Bring her
well,
out.
she makes a good point though, and a point that was carried over after the Bill interview. But she's saying, I don't know Jeffrey Epstein. I'm not in the files other than some mentions, but not because I
Hmm.
was ever there. Um, you're causing me to testify, but Trump's in there more than anybody. Lutkin's in
Right.
there more than anybody. Melania's in there. How come you're not having them testify? And I think that's a valid question. And it turned out with her exactly like what I thought. She was going to run circles around them, torch them when she could. We understand the transcripts and the video may be coming out shortly, so it'll be even worse once we see it. But there's
Yeah.
no way anybody can tell me. Somebody suggested that one of the reps said she was unhinged, and I'd be surprised if she was unhinged. I mean, you look at Donald Trump; that's what fucking unhinged looked like. But she said
Jeez.
they asked her about UFOs and Pizzagate. I mean, the whole thing was a clown show.
Yeah. I mean, just going to the oldie but the goodies. And
Yeah,
unhinged was Lauren Boebert taking a picture during the private session and email it to Ben Johnson. And you guys, Ben Johnson is that hack journalist that is, I don't know if he's married to Marjorie Taylor Greene anymore. I don't know. But then he puts it out on the net. And then
yeah,
her lawyer goes, oh, time out. You guys just violated everything. They did. You wanted privacy. Now you're putting your shit out as public.
yeah.
And then Lauren Boebert's like, oh, yeah, right. I mean, that was just like some high school bullshit. And right. And it's like, it was dumb and it did not work. It worked opposite of what they wanted.
Right,
Because then
exactly.
before Bill Clinton um, started his testimony, a lot of Republican senators are asking, we need to talk to Melania. We need Howard Lutkin to talk. And because also just at the time that she was testifying, they keep redacting, they keep trying to hide shit. The problem is a lot of people went in there and they're pretty tech savvy and they do some archives. They found a picture of Howard Lutkin, Epstein, and his two 16 and Lutkin's two 16-year-old daughters on the island. They found a picture. So hey, Howard, what is it? You knew him? You didn't know him? You hated him, or you didn't? You didn't hate him? And the thing about it is, he's still ensconced in his power position around the world. People who even were like close to Epstein are gone. Almost,
Right.
it's still could bring down the UK government. Um, Prince Andrew is going to jail again. He's going to jail. They're going to make a fucking example of him. First of all, they hate him. I mean,
Yeah.
that's personal. That's personal all around the wall. That he's been a dick to everyone for years. It's payback time. And I think a lot of people are also worried if he's a smart man. I start going, give me some paper and a pencil, and I'll tell you everything. Because if I'm going, I'm taking y'all with me. I mean,
Well,
that
that's
would
the
be the
thing.
smart thing to do.
That would be the smart thing to do. Andrew is likely to go to jail because what he's being accused of doesn't have anything to do yet with the abuse of little girls, but it is a pretty serious offense, and he could go to jail for 20 years.
Yep.
This guy's been entitled his whole life, lived in the lap of luxury, and now he is weighing the options of going to jail for a long period of time. If he has an option to get out of jail or at least shorten his jail time, you know that fucker's going to jump on it.
Yeah.
What's he got to lose?
Well, a lot. Honestly, if you think about it, he already lost his title. He lost his money that came
Yeah,
with the title. I mean, the British are taking everything from him. And I think even a conservative government would have done that to him. But you come to the United States, Howard Lutkin is still, high on the hog. He
yeah,
should have been fired or resigned. He's not going to resign, and Trump isn't going to fire him. He still thinks that um, when he's on his way to Texas for a speech. That should be fucking entertaining. Um, and they asked him, what about the Epstein files? Trump, as usual, I don't know anything about the Epstein files, but I've been exonerated by them. Which is it, dude? You don't know anything about them, or they exonerated you? This fucking circle jerk of words. I mean, it's just fucking ridiculous. I mean,
yeah,
we sat through 2 hours of that circle jerk on Tuesday, um, which I think made it worse for them. Oh my lord, that made it worse. I
yeah.
mean, if I'm
It
a
really
Republican
did.
running for a seat right now, I'm you're you're dead. You're dead. I mean, there's no way you're
Yeah.
going to come out from this ahead.
Well,
So,
and Bill Clinton, of course, testified on Friday. Um, that went pretty much like I expected. He's 78, 79 years
mhm,
old. He's an elderly guy. He does show up in pictures with Jeffrey Epstein, but I knew he'd just do what Les Wexner did. He's rich, he's got power. I don't know nothing about nothing. I never saw nothing. I didn't know him after he was convicted. I only spent a
mhm.
short time with him. I don't know if that's true or not. Doesn't really matter. What did you expect him to say? Did you really expect to flush him out and scare the former president of the United States, Slick Willie himself?
Yeah,
Did you really think you're going to trick this guy into admitting to anything? For fuck's sake.
he literally had an affair at the White House, and most of us are like, okay. I mean, that's the difference between him and Trump, because him having an affair in the White House did not try to bring the country down or violate our Constitution in any ways. That was a
Right.
personal thing. But yeah, it was measured. They couldn't get through him. And what he did though was again shake the lies out of the tree. Because now even Republican senators are going, yeah, like I said, they need to look at some stuff. And the more Trump tries to run from Epstein, the more it keeps getting closer and chasing him. When they found that picture, people were putting a picture out of Lutkin. The DOJ went in there and erased the files again. And people are going, oh, that's stupid. The internet's forever. And then what they do, they close the search engine on the Epstein files for a while. I mean,
Wow.
it's like you're covering it up, and you just say, "What are you going to do about it?" Because we know that the DOJ and FBI are under Trump's control. The problem is the public opinion is running against you. Even your own people are starting to go, "Oh, this isn't looking good. You promised us something else, and we didn't know that you were going to be the man, one of the
Well,
men."
the thing about it is that they have to understand is Bill Clinton got impeached,
Mhm.
not for having sex with a woman in the White House, for lying about it.
Lying about it, exactly.
John Mitchell, the Attorney General for Richard Nixon, didn't go to jail for breaking into the DNC or anything like that. He went to jail for lying about it. And the trouble is, the Bill Clintons and the John Mitchells, they were a little more savvy about trying to hide it. These dumb fucks are blatant about it. We catch them
Yeah.
in a lie every fucking day. Every day it's a fucking cover up,
And the problem with our situation, as opposed to what was Watergate, and you have to remember, John Dean went to jail too for lying.
right?
I mean, and if you want to put in another perspective, a good example is Martha Stewart went to jail, not because of the insider training, because she lied about it. That's
Right.
why she went to jail. The cover up is there. But the problem right now is that everyone, that includes Republicans, think, who gives a fuck? What are you going to do about it? Who's gonna get us? We got protection. That's what frustrates everybody. So either they get frustrated with Democrats or they say, fuck it, I give up, which is not the right attitude, but that's what we're facing right now. I mean,
Well, you're right about that. The DOJ is run by clowns and Donald Trump and Pam Bondi. FBI is run by Kash Patel. They're right. There is no accountability anymore at this point. However, that's not how it's going to be forever. And
no,
that's the thing that these people have to understand is they think they're getting away with it now, but ultimately they will not get away with it. And like you say, the tide is turning. For example, after Bill Clinton spoke or was interviewed today, the first thing Democrats came out. Actually, they came out during the break and they said, "Look,
mhm,
Bill Clinton's here. He's testifying. Hillary Clinton's testifying yesterday. Precedence has been set.
yep,
We're now allowed to subpoena a former president, a president's wife, a senator. This opens the door for anybody. And if
Secretary of
if the
State.
cri-
Yeah.
and if the criteria for bringing Bill Clinton in is because he has questionable history with women, because he's connected with Jeffrey Epstein. That sounds a lot like Donald Trump too. So if Bill
It,
Clinton come in, a former president, Donald Trump should need to come in. Now he won't come in, but the pressure will keep pounding on him.
right.
Bill Clinton came in. Why aren't you coming in? Are you coming in? When are you coming in? And
Yeah.
it's going to drive him nuts.
And also, if you look at it, it's the same. James Comer is, to me, every time I hear him speak, I just see Foghorn Leghorn
Oh,
from
he's a
our
dude.
old
He's a dipshit.
Warner Brother cartoon days. But he thinks he can, if he you poked it, you shouldn't have brought them in. You did it because you want a dog and pony show, and you think you are smarter than the people you're bringing in. You notice every time he does this thing, like with Jack Smith and everything, it just basically goes boom,
Yeah.
because the people you bring in are much smarter than you and they know what to do. Jack Smith laid out everything for Trump. I wish he released all his findings. I wish he would, to the point that Eileen Cannon stopped the release of the documents for the classified documents case. She
Right.
sealed it. So we can't see it. Why? Because Jack Smith's testimony. They know he's got the goods. And you
Well,
blew it up. Now like you said, you drag out the Clintons, Secretary of State, Senator, First Lady, and a former president of the United States. You brought him out to be hearing. Now you can't say, Howard Lutkin can't say, well, I'm Secretary of Commerce. Yeah, she's Secretary of State. Get your ass in here. It's not going to work. They got
right.
him.
Well, the thing about it is where the Republicans lost and they lose every time. They brought in Jack Smith to intimidate him, to get him to say something stupid or to expose him to something. After that interview happened, what did the Republicans do? Nothing. They had nothing to
Nothing.
say. Absolutely nothing to say. When Hillary Clinton testified, what did they say? Well, she might have been a little unhinged about a couple of things, but they had nothing that they could
Nothing.
exploit. Same with Bill Clinton, nothing to exploit. The
Nothing.
whole point of, I think the point of calling these people in was to intimidate them and in hopes that they would fight to stay out of being interrogated, because then they could say, oh, they didn't want to talk. They're obviously guilty. But they go in and talk, they get nothing. it's an embarrassment. It's a fucking
Yeah.
clown show, and they'll do it again. They'll drag
And
somebody
the
else
thing,
in here.
it's exactly, and I use this term a lot, and people, if you've seen the movie, you know I'm right. They literally said, like that last scene of Tombstone, I didn't think you would do it. And then they walked out and said, I'm your Huckleberry. And they
Right?
all said, oh shit. Yeah, that's what happened. And as for Jack Smith intimidating him, I the one image of Jack Smith is always in my head is when things were going hot and heavy. He was walking to DC. He's walking to the office in DC. He had his briefcase and a Subway sandwich in his other hand. And the reason I say that is because that dude just there, I'm here to work, and I brought my lunch.
Yeah.
And,
Yeah.
and the thing about it is, this guy was at the Hague. The
Yeah.
Hague. He went after war criminals. Fucking A. And I will say this: once we get everything back, he will be part of the Department of Justice again. Maybe he will be the special prosecutor with extra powers because payback is going to be a bitch. And trust me, he may be a very low level. I know he's got a list. He's got a list.
Yeah, he's got a list. Well, and some people have suggested he should be the attorney general. Now, the only reason I would think he wouldn't be the attorney general or even in the DOJ, because he doesn't want any part of that fucking mess. Because even after Donald Trump's gone and Pam Bondi's gone, if he was to be the AG, that motherfucker's got a big ass cleanup job to do to
Yeah.
straighten that shit away.
Oh,
And I don't know if anybody wants that.
I know I would set him up as a different justice system because, again, the UN has said this is going on with ICE and everything, or crimes against humanity. That's what they set up the Nuremberg trials as.
Right.
And this man, when he's at the Hague, what is he trying? Crimes against humanity. You don't have to make it AG. He's just a special prosecutor as he was, but you don't have to answer to a dick this time. This is you, dude. Do what you're going to do. Do what you're going to do. And I think that's that. I think we'll get there if we have the right people in power um, at that time. But it was a shit show. It meant it. What you got was what you have is these guys going, "Fuck, it didn't work." Of course, it didn't work. Everyone knew it wasn't going to work, except you idiots, because you think what you did before is going to work. It's not going to work this time. It
But
can't.
that's my thing. It's never worked. They tried to bring Hunter Biden in, didn't work. They tried to go
Yeah,
after Joe Biden, didn't work. They tried to go after other people in the Biden administration, didn't work.
yeah,
Now Bill Clinton, now Hillary Clinton, Jack Smith. None of it fucking worked.
yeah.
They even
And
tried to
but
go after James Comer and Letitia James, and they couldn't even get them indicted.
and they're still working on stuff right now. The DOJ and the FBI. We talked about it last Sunday. They're prosecuting everyone they pick up with ICE for obstruction, and judges are just going, "Get out of my court, get out of my
Yeah.
court." They're not convicting them. Apparently, the FBI picked up more people in Minneapolis around a church protesting and going to try them like they're going to do Don Lemon. When that hits the court, that's going nowhere.
Yeah.
There's nothing. There's no there. They're trying. And here's the thing: this is what they're thinking. They're going to intimidate people. Okay, and honestly, people are fearful out there. They are still doing their ICE thing, but you notice people are standing up, and they don't care anymore. They're not being violent, but they're ready to stand their ground,
Right.
and they don't fear. And that freaks them out. That freaks them all out because they expected if we put a few of them in jail and we scare them, they're going to quit. No, it makes more people mad. More people get stand up and go, "Oh fuck you." I mean, they didn't expect it. Like, you want a good example recently? That Quakertown bullshit in Pennsylvania. The kids that got arrested for protesting. What
Right.
everyone's calling it, since you and I are old dudes, remember the Chicago 8, they're calling them the Quakertown 5 because they're being held. I mean, but it's the same thing to an extent. The 8 were abused by police for their spouting their political beliefs. Same thing for the 5. There's 5 kids, and the thing about it is they expected that chief police expected everyone just okay. I'm gonna do this. There's just kids. Who gives a shit? What they didn't, what them and that town council is not understanding and the Board of Education just got a taste of it today, is that people since Minneapolis are fucking pissed.
Yeah.
And that video of you choking a 14-year-old, you cannot sell. Yeah, well, they were unruly and we need to put them down. Really? It's not what the video says. That's not what we're seeing. And also, people are understanding you cannot overstep your power. And Americans are getting tired of it. And that's what it is. That's what's driving Republicans crazy because they're going, this used to work. I don't get it. Why aren't they buying our shit?
Well,
We're
the
not.
problem they're creating for themselves is um, people never trusted the government much, but they trust them even less now.
Yes.
People didn't always trust law enforcement and the courts. They trust them even less now. They're doing damage. The way they try to sell things is with legitimacy and credibility, but they have none anymore. So that's why what they're trying to sell doesn't work.
And if you want, and then another example, how they're freaked out. Let's face it. If Zoran Mondani was an American citizen, he could be president in 28. He could
Yeah,
be.
could be.
It could be. Because just the one thing he did with that giant snowstorm, okay, it was brilliant because most governments would have bought a whole bunch of snow plows and but they only need them once in a decade. So you're stuck with a cost that's just going to sit there and rust. So he said, okay, $30 an hour, come on and shovel. $30 an hour, $45 overtime. Let's do it. And I saw a couple of videos of people who did it. First of all, they gave him equipment. They gave him equipment to stay warm. They fed them. They gave them coffee. They made sure they had breaks. There were men and women out there shoveling the streets. And the next day, when people came out, they were expected to be slip sliding away. They're going, "What the hell?" They were impressed. People were going, "What's going on?" And then he said, "Hey, let's celebrate." And they had this huge snowball fight in New York City at Central Park. It was all cool. It was like government worked. And
Yeah,
I love what the Republicans are saying. Yeah, well, that was taxpayer money. Yeah. Well, they spent taxpayer money. Yeah. Who benefited from it? The taxpayers. You
exactly.
can't sell it. They go, well, you guys are against voter ID, but they have to have two IDs. Yeah, you do have to do that when you get a job. You got to sign an I-8. You still have to go through a real ID. You dumbasses. You can't sell this. But here we go. We talked about just a moment ago how people like to fuck things up. So they had the snowball fight. And then the NYPD showed up because someone got butt hurt at one police plaza. So they went through, and so everyone thought, hey, the cops here throw some snowballs at him. Ah, it's cute, right? No, the cops took it personally. They arrested the guy for throwing ice at him, but apparently. I don't know, snowballs or ice. All right. Like the former chief of police was like going, this was a terrorist act. The fuck you talking about? Okay. But they dragged this guy into court the other day for felony assault. Felony assault. And the judge said, what did he do? Yeah, this is a misdemeanor for disturbing the peace. That was it. And the point is they try to make something good bad because they don't know what good looks like, and good scares them. It
Well, it not
scares the
only
piss out
scares
of them.
them, it not only scares them. It's what Donald Trump has done all along with,
Yes.
like the border border plan and
Mm.
the Iranian plan. He doesn't want somebody else to benefit or look like they're doing something well, so he goes in and ruins it. And then he tries to fix it with whatever he comes up with, usually about the same thing, but he still fucks it up. Now,
Yeah.
the thing about New York was interesting. Mondami came out with a very creative way to do it. Normal mayors might go in and say, "We'll buy all this equipment, like you say, that we won't
Mm-hmm.
need for the next 10 years." Instead, he found a way to get the job done and put money in people's pockets.
Who
You
will
would think
spend
the
it in the
Republic,
city?
right? And you would think the people of the Republican Party would like this because the only people that could shovel were the able bodied people that showed up. So they got jobs, jobs that were important to keep the city running. Everything worked perfectly with that. And the fact that anybody would bitch about it tells me who they are. They got to be a Republican because anytime something works, they tell us, no, that's not good.
Yeah, governance broken.
Yeah. Student loans, not a good idea. We're stopping that.
Yeah,
Medicaid, not a good idea. We're stopping that.
and the thing about it is, like, you watch that, and I thought it was funny. And the press doesn't help. Okay,
No.
the press doesn't help because the first first freaking news conference he has afterwards, someone asked him because of the snowball fight and the NYPD created this controversy. Okay, they don't like Mondami because they're being pushed by certain people um, because they want free. They got a lot of free runner Eric Adams, who left the city with a $12 million deficit.
Yeah.
Remember that, y'all. Okay, they asked him. They asked Mayor, are you? There was an incident of assault. So the snowball. You going to ban snowball fights? He looked at that report and goes, "That's being handled. I'm not going to ban snowball fights." Next question. And I'm going, see, this is fucking stupid shit that they try to bring up that they shouldn't bring up.
Right.
But it was an efficient way of doing it. And the thing about it, that is a progressive idea. Because if you think about it, that goes back to what FDR did with the force. What did they call it? People who
Uh,
worked in the force. You know what I'm going to come to, right?
was it like CCP or?
Yeah, CC. Yeah, so he put people to work doing federal work on federal land. It got him a job. It got people working. It got people off the streets. You know, it was smart stuff. That's what progressives want to do for people. Okay.
Yeah.
The problem is that Republicans have sold everyone that all of the programs that help people are for lazy people. And that's the thing. That's the way they keep putting it for 40 since 1980. It was now 50 years, close to 50 years. We've been hearing this bullshit from from Republicans or this trickle down theory. Don't fuck with billionaires or they're going to take their money. Well, we need to take their money because
We
when
need to take
things
the, and
go
if they
ahead, I'm
want to
sorry,
go to the country and they want to leave, fuck it, bye.
but they don't. Like in New York, someone said in New York, they're coming in and investing back in New York. American Express is building a new headquarters in the city. So if
Yeah.
everything was so bad, the Sharia law and the economy is going to collapse, why the fuck are they spending $300 million in the city of New York again?
Good
That
question.
tells you because they feel safe. The investment's safe.
Yeah.
I mean, and the point is, we could have that again. Except for without the lies Trump's saying. No, there's no millions of investment in foreign manufacturing investment in the United States because you chased it out. You chased it out with tariffs and you lied about it. And you still don't know what the fuck a tariff is.
No,
To
no, you
this
don't.
bit. It's in, and here we go with the election coming up because now I did a video on this. Um, I was lucky in high school. I got a great in freshman high school is AP history. It was called World History, and I had a teacher named Gloria Dismack, and I never forgot her because she took a bunch of 14-year-old freshmen, okay, and taught us how to learn. She treated it like a college course. She had her subject, she had what we're going to cover, and she put down in how the subject points, and she taught us how to write. She taught us how to learn. I never forgot that because it was the most important class I ever had in my life because she taught us how to think logically. And she broke down the history of the world starting from the Fertile Crescent all across, and then she included religions, Hinduism, Buddhism, Islam, Christianity, and their effect on world history. I think I have a unique thing, a connection, all that, because she put it in historical prospects. But the one thing I remember when we got to World War One and then World War Two, the first thing when we were talking about World War Two is what the French did. Always remember, the French did not want the Germans to invade again. What did they create? The Maginot Line, which is a line between France and Germany on the north that was supposed to fight like they did before, trench warfare. They had
Right.
cement bunkers, they had trenches, they had aircraft for observation because they thought the war again was going to be trench warfare. We're going to throw shells at one another. But they didn't realize the Germans had figured out how tanks work, and the word blitzkrieg is they went through Belgium around the Maginot Line, and they conquered France in 3 days. It was over.
Yeah.
The point being is that people have a bad habit because, like, Civil War was another example. They fought it in like Napoleonic wars where everyone stood in lines and shot, but the weapons changed with Boer weapons, so more people died. It wasn't effective. They kept fighting the past war that didn't work now. And here we are in elections because, let's be honest, we are at war between a very,
Essentially.
pretty much. So Republicans are going to fight this war coming up the same way they've always fought it, with culture bullshit and fear. You know, the big thing in Texas for all those guys running for Congress is Sharia law again, because like in Dallas, they have a huge Muslim community. They're building like complexes and all that. And they're going, yeah, they're just going to impose Sharia law all over Texas. And I listen to these guys, they're just playing on your racism and all your bullshit. They're not talking about how they're going to make your life better. They just want to set fear in you to vote for them. The immigration, still the same. All those immigrants are out to get your children and your women and your jobs. It's not going to change. Transgender is big. My God, one candidate here for Georgia is like talking about transgender this, transgender that. We want them out of sports. And as one Susanna George, who's running for Congress in in Georgia, look up, you see her TikToks, listen to her. She said, do you know how many transgender people we have in sports in Georgia? Zero. It's a
Yeah.
non-entity, but it makes people feel better. What they did in Kansas, in Tennessee, they're passing a law to make a miscarriage possible, punishable by death. I mean, it's just insane what Republicans are coming out because they got nothing else. They have
Put it
nothing
this
else.
put it this way. I just looked this up because I was wondering myself, and it says approximately 1% of Americans age 13 and older are transgender. That's about
Mhm.
2.8 million people, a small amount compared to the 350 million. This includes roughly 0.8% of adults, 3.3% um, aged 13 to 17. So, of adults in this country, less than 1% are
Yes.
transgendered, and teenagers, 3.3%. But they spew this stuff like this is an epidemic, a
Right.
problem that everybody's having to deal with all day long, and it is part and parcel to what they do. They find somebody
Right.
to be afraid of, and then they spew this fear, and everybody in some farm in Nebraska is going, God damn it, we got to keep the transgender out of here. They've never seen one,
Yeah.
and there isn't enough of them to be all excited about, even if there was a problem with them. Fact is, there is no problem with them. So the whole thing is bullshit.
So they're building the Republicans are building their own Maginot Line, which is culture war, which is getting their MAGA voters together. Here in Georgia, they're scrambling over each other like rats in a maze, trying to get Donald Trump to touch them. You know, the hand of Trump to make it. They figure that's going to help. In Georgia, I think he finally picked one for Senate. And like I'm reading the Atlantic Journal Constitution, they're going, yeah, that's going to help. No, it's not going to help them. John Ossoff is
No.
going to eat them alive.
Yeah,
Okay,
no
why?
question.
Because he can speak to people about their needs. And you talked about the farmers. Hey, the farmers are pissed.
Yeah.
They're having another crop coming up and they can't sell it still. They're fucked. They're bankruptcies. That last 12 million may kept a few people alive, but they're screwed. And you don't think they know that Trump took $10 billion for himself in a so-called board of peace bullshit?
Yeah.
They don't think they know. They might be hicks, but they run businesses and they know they're getting fucking ripped off. And that's the thing. The Republicans think that Democrats are going to fall into that trap. They're not. They're talking about affordability. They're talking about what we're going to do. They're calling out the good progressive ones, are calling out what Trump does. Okay. That's why they're winning these special elections by 20, 30. There was one where this guy won, the lady won a special election with 80, 98% of the vote. They are not kidding. Okay. They know the writing's on the wall, but they won't shift because that means they got to bump Trump. But the only problem we have with this scenario coming out, guys, is that within the Democratic Party is the staunch corporate Democrats who keep trying to fight out progressive in the primary. David
Right.
Hogg has a TikTok channel, and he is freaking calling them out. That a lot of these people that are progressive running are getting hammered by a pack with Hakeem Jeffries and APAC because APAC is scared of progressives. They should be, because the first thing they're going to do is rein in Israel when that happens.
Right.
And again, we have to put out, I'm not anti-Semitic, but I am anti-brutal government. I saw the other day, and very, very low key, no one said it. The city of Rafah has been bulldozed. It's
Really.
fucking gone. It's gone. That Board of Peace thing, they put out a proposal today. They're in Gaza. They're going to build, them and FIFA are going to build a national stadium and a bunch of fields. No one told the Gazans this, the Palestinians this. And the point I'm saying is that to you far leftists, because the problem I have with this is that a lot of progressives aren't going to win the primaries. I know
Right.
it. You know it. It's going to be the nature of the beast. Part of it's money. Part of it is some people aren't going to get the message right or get it out right. But what I'm afraid of is a lot of those people who are counting the progressive may walk away from the election. I was on a Trucker Tees live the other day, and some guy comes in because it's a really heated primary between Tellerico and Jasmine Crockett. Now Tellerico said if Crockett wins, she's going to support her and vice versa. Um, and then you have a controversy because some white Texas Democrat lady goes, "Yeah, I love Jasmine Crockett, but I voted for Tellerico." And the reporter asked her why, because we need to win. And everyone freaked out. I don't think that's a bad take. I understand her take. I wish she should have stayed with her convictions. I get it.
Yeah.
But we have to understand, and I will say this guy said, I'm voting for Jasmine Crockett. Great. Because what if Tellerico wins? I'm not voting for him. I'm not going to vote. I'm not going to vote in the general election. There we go. Then we end up with the same fucking thing.
Yeah.
That's the fight we have to, that's the battle we have within the Democratic Party with a lot of those people who don't have the fortitude to take a loss and look at the bigger picture. They get too butthurt and they walk away, like the Bernie Bros did.
This whole Texas thing is ripe for some dramatic changes.
Mm-hmm.
I know that Paxton on the Republican side is beating Cornyn by 2 points, and there's another guy in there that's down by 10 points. If Paxton wins, I know I talked to Jace about this. He thinks if Paxton wins, it's going to be that much easier for the Democrats to win because Paxton is a fucking absolute criminal. But
Yeah,
with Tallarico and Jasmine Crockett, it's a hard choice. They're entirely different candidates. I think both would be a good candidate. I personally believe that in this situation, I prefer Jasmine Crockett because we need that kind of energy
right.
in the Senate. We need fighters. The
Mm-hmm.
fight isn't over. The fight won't be over for a long time, and we need somebody who can fight. Not to say that Tallarico can't fight or that he's
No,
not strong, and that I do like him. It's not that he doesn't have enough fight. He's not fighting the right fight. You know what I
right.
mean?
Yeah, I got
You
you. And
got
the
to
part
you got to get down in the mud with him. You got to be tough.
and part of it is, and I'm not saying he's not tough. He's just that I get it. That's not his personality. Um, the other thing is too is that in watching it you get a chance, find David Hogg's videos because he's making a point that a
Yeah.
lot of the people that they're attacking or pumping APAC money behind Hakeem Jeffries, it's not because Jeffries and Schumer really give a fuck. They know what happens if you get a majority of progressives in the House or
Yeah.
majority of progressives in the Senate. You're out.
Yeah.
You're out. I will guarantee you, if there's a majority of progressive in the House, I will tell you who will be the next Speaker of the House. OAC, AOC.
Yeah. Yeah.
She will be the next
Probably.
Speaker of the House, and she would, because that's the one we need. That's the point with these people right now. The Democrats, we have an internal fight with corporate Democrats who's still sucking on the teat from Citizen United and all that. And I get it, guys. And I hear that I had a podcast all the time and she blasts Democrats all the time. I get it. But also, I think there's a harm to it because you could turn people off. And what we have to make sure is that, they make fun of us. Well, blue regardless. Yeah, at this time, fuck yes. Because
Yeah.
this is not political anymore. This
No,
is
it's not.
this is survival of the republic. And if we get the House, do you know what that's going to be? It's going to be stressful for the Trump regime. They will rein in ICE. They will bring people in front and out in the light. They will step on a few cockroaches, even though the DOJ won't do anything. Still going to make their lives miserable,
Right.
and we could stop a lot of shit. But if you don't, if you're at the ilk that hear these people all the time, both parties are the same. Fucking shut up, which means you support what's going on now. I apologize. That's the truth. You cannot
Well,
say that now.
sometimes people think, okay, we're in trouble. We've got to come up with a plan to fix everything right now. And if you've ever lived
Exactly.
your life, you know you might have a period of time when you have problems. And anybody who tries to attack all those problems at once, it's almost certain that they will fail. The best thing is to do to pick out the big problem, fix that. Don't worry about the other
Right.
problems. Fix the first problem. Then once that's fixed, then focus on the next one.
It's
And nobody we elect is going to fix everything and do it exactly the way everybody wants to. But if we want a chance to be in a position to do that at some point, you can't vote for the Republicans. You're finding out
exactly
what the Republicans are doing. There is no accountability. There's no rule of law. That's where you put us when you voted against your better judgment.
exactly. I mean,
So
that's
now
a.
we
Go ahead.
just
I'm
have
sorry.
to get the Democrats in so we can fucking
Yeah.
start the road to something better.
I mean, there's two cliches that come to my mind. From a sales point, you can't get everything sometimes.
Right.
Okay, they won't buy it all. So my old sales manager said, "Hogs get slaughtered, pigs get fed." But also, this problem we have to deal with is huge. It's the old saying: "Is how do you eat an elephant? One spoonful at a time."
Right.
I mean, because that's where we're at. And if we get power back, then we can fix the party itself. Because if we concern ourselves about fixing the party and its corruption inside, but not deal with the bigger problem, then the bigger problem will get out of our control. And that's what I think a lot of people don't see. And to me, that doesn't make me middle of the ground or anything. It makes me practical. I see what's going on. We just have to be
I,
practical about this fight in the
I've
end.
said this. I said this earlier in another podcast. I said if the Republicans were to win the House, the Senate, and the next presidency, people like you and me have to sit here and go, I can't do anything.
No,
I've done all I can. I can't do anything. So that's why it's important that people get off their ass and do it. I mean, I think the reason we lost in 2024 has a lot of reasons for it, but I think it's largely to do with Democrats staying home on the couch and
right.
not doing what they're supposed to do. All you have to do is look at the numbers, and that tells you exactly what fucking happened.
But I think now it's starting to, people got, look, if Minneapolis was wanted to, they literally could have just stayed at home, just watched from the sidelines what happened.
Yeah, yeah,
They literally could. You could. It really did not affect the majority of Minnesotans. But for some reason, no, because they know that the country is more important and the Constitution is more important, and they can't stand watching literally their neighbors being taken. They didn't see them as illegal aliens or criminals. They saw him as the next door neighbor or the guy they bought food from. That's what pissed them off. And I think the miscalculation again is still going with Trump and all them. The more they do, the worse they do, the more people stand up and get pissed. And I think it will translate into the voting booth, regardless of what happens, regardless of the message, because they
I think
keep doing stuff out there that pisses us off.
I think I need to clear something up with what's going on in Minnesota. After they talked about the drawdown, it was commonly understood that they hadn't drawn anything down, that
Mhm.
there were still as many people here and there were still problems being caused. Now, I heard from a source, I trust the source, that says they have drawn down some in the sense that there may be 400 or 500 people still in the state, in the city. So that would be a drawdown from 2,300 down to 400 or 500 people. That's still too many. And even if those 500 people are doing the egregious stuff that the 3,000 did, it's still a
Mhm.
problem. Um, they said there would be 100 people in here. And frankly, there's probably always been ICE agents around here. It's not
Oh
so
yeah,
much the ICE agents as to how they behave. But we still have issues here in Minnesota. These fuckers will crop up in another city and they'll cause problems again. Uh, but things are getting a little better in Minnesota. It's not perfect, it's not great. There still are problems, but at least we're seeing some progress in getting these dumb fucks out of here.
and the dumb fucks keep doing more dumb fuck stuff.
Yeah.
You saw what happened in Buffalo. That's just fucking murder again.
Mm-hmm.
That's just murder with cruelty added on. I mean,
And that's that's the
to
point.
drop it,
You don't need 3,000 ICE agents to cause a problem. You just need one dumb fuck shooting an
yeah.
innocent person.
Or I mean, or dropping a blind man in the snow in the middle of nowhere and he dies of hypothermia.
Right.
And they're saying, and now they're trying to say, oh no, we left him at a secure place. Oh look, Cam, traffic cam, you dropped him right in front of the Tim Hortons at night. Oh, really? There you go. They can't get away with this shit. In Savannah, we talked about Linda Hill getting murdered by ICE
Right.
chasing someone and keeping the ambulance out by 24 a half hour while they try to cover their shit. All right. And then there's in New Jersey, they chased someone that caused a 3-car accident. All right, these guys are still the worst of the worst. And that whistleblower came out and said they are taught to ignore the Constitution, escalate issues so they can arrest people. They
Right.
have no training, they have no weapons training. They're letting out really the worst of the worst. And I hear these guys when they talk about it, like someone was filming and goes, "You're a domestic terrorist." It goes, "What the?" From behind his mask. Oh, I'm the domestic terrorist filming you, and you're behind a mask with a weapon. What part of this don't I understand? And
Yeah.
so they they keep they keep escalating this to the point that someone's going to do something they ain't going to like. But also,
Right.
right now, that's what keeps people, I think, motivated because they see what's going on. Also, the fucking government is so incompetent. It's not even funny. I mean, you talked about. I saw your video, and I mentioned it also. Again, shooting lasers over El Paso's commercial airport to shoot down drones. The last drone they shot, the first one was a party balloon. The last one turned out to be a CPB drone on the border. And Pete Hegseth turned at the trigger. Why are you firing shit over commercial airspace? It just tells you these guys have no fucking idea what they have, and they're a bunch of little kids with toys.
That's pretty
That
much it.
man,
And
good,
and I think there were two drones they shot down over
yeah,
the airport at El Paso. And I'm sure they thought they were big heroes until they found out that they were some of their own.
yeah,
And
they're
that
all.
incompetence is just unfucking fathomable. How can you be so stupid?
Well, it's not stupid. It's just that they're incompetent. And it's not even stupidity anymore. They're just incompetent, or they believe that what they're saying or what they're doing is going to benefit everyone, even though it expends everyone else. And then during the State of the whatever address,
State
I
of the
didn't.
Union.
Yeah, I didn't see it. No, I just hate saying that word. Um, I didn't see it. I was on a live with Trucker Tio. I listened to part of it. We all suffered through it. But he made J.D. Vance head of a fraud division. And the next day, he had to swing his dick and go, hey, we're going to cut off all the Medicaid money to Minnesota because of fraud. They didn't set up any facts. They didn't have any court cases. They didn't have any names. They just had to prove they could use the money. What the fuck? And
You
then,
know, if
go
I'm
ahead.
Tim Walz in the legislature, and I don't know how the Republicans in the legislature feel about this, anybody who supports taking away Medicaid from specifically Minnesota is should not be reelected. But if I'm Tim Walz or the legislature, I would say, okay, what's the next payment we got to make to the federal government with regards to taxes? Because we're going to deduct 259
Yeah.
million so we can keep our people taken care of.
And to answer your question about Republicans in Minnesota, when ICE started their deployment, and I think it was right. Was it after Renee Good? After Renee Good shooting, they spoke to the chairman of the state Republican Party. They asked him about it. He kind of blew off the question that the federal can do what they want. We need to concentrate on the fraud that Democrats are committing in Minnesota. So that's their thing. That's what they're going to run
True,
on.
true.
Okay. So what JD Vance did is what they're going to basically use to present to the public in Minnesota to say, trust us. But then to top it off, how Mehmet Oz, this fucking quack, became head of Medicare and Medicaid, it's, he's now, they are freezing for the next 6 months approval of new DM, durable medical equipment request. What does
Uh,
that mean, guys? That's prostheses, that's wheelchairs, that's canes, that's CPAP machines. That's all the things that you have that help people get around. That this motherfucker is cutting off because they want to make sure there's no fraud. I mean, that's you go to just take people's stuff.
well, and the thing that gets me about this, what he's doing with Minnesota with ICE and now with this Medicaid thing and the fraud thing, this is all about intimidation tactics.
Yes.
He's got a hard on for Minnesota because he doesn't like Tim Walz and because he and I'll bet you that's why Tim Walz isn't running again
Hmm.
because he feels like because he's governor, Donald Trump is punishing Minnesota. And I don't think that's the whole reason for it. There's other reasons for it. Ilhan Omar, Klobuchar, but but it's all about intimidating and trying to show them up. They failed with ICE. I mean, they failed miserably with
Oh,
ICE in
miserably. It looks
Minnesota.
stupid.
So now they have to go with this Medicaid thing, and hopefully they'll be able to go to court, or Minnesota will just say, "Fuck yourself. We're taking it out of your cut. You're not getting that cut." And that's called a soft secession, and some governors have been
Right.
talking about that already.
I mean, that's what but technically, they're kicking them out of the union to an extent anyway by
Right.
doing that. So, and it's just you. And the one thing about Oz did, that's not just Minnesota, that's nationwide. And I'm like going, what? It, and they talk about saving money. Like we said earlier, $10 billion to that Board of Peace bullshit. They ICE has been funded extra $84 billion. You know how that could change the ACA? Oh yeah, and Mehmet Oz came up with a solution to the ACA. Um,
Yeah, I
you know,
know.
in your health plans, you have an out of pocket you have to reach for they cover
Right.
everything. For my insurance, between my wife and I, it's like $8,400. And then because right now it's 80/20 where we're paying. Once we read the out of pocket, then the insurance company will pay everything. But he is talking about, yeah, we're going to get people cheap insurance with out of pocket expenses have to be met first of up to $31,000. Why bother?
Yeah, why
They
bother?
think we're stupid. They really think that they're going to sell this shit. I mean, but they don't care about the poor and they don't care about the working people because here's the cherry on top of this thing. Did you catch Robert F. Kennedy's bit at the so-called Make America Healthy Again conference?
I've heard a lot of things from him, but go ahead. I'm not sure what
Okay,
you're
you
talking
love
about.
this. Look up this video. Ooh, yeah. So let's context this. Do you remember the Secretary of Agriculture, Betty Ross? They're talking about affordability, and she said, "Well, we did studies, and people can eat at $15 a day, a piece of chicken, a tortilla, and some broccoli and something else." Do you remember
Yeah,
that bit? Okay. So the question of food prices came up again. Let's face it, food prices are up. Meat prices expensive, especially beef.
absolutely.
Um, and put it in context, my wife we got 10 pounds of beef. Now my wife likes the 90-10. Okay, that's fine. We'll buy the high end. We'll spend a little more. But for that 10 pounds, about a year ago, I was paying $30.
Yep,
Now that costs me 50. That's
right,
hamburger meat, guys. Hamburger meat. Chicken is ridiculously priced. Okay. The Wall Street Journal had a stupid article. Well, I'll get to that one in a second. So, beef, don't even talk about steaks. Don't talk about like the other cuts, like chuck roast and skirt steak. They're like $10 a pound. They used to
yeah,
be 3 or 4, not
yeah.
anymore. Okay. So, this motherfucker, and I say that because that's who I am, and I will say that, gets up in there in that stupid drug addled voice and it says it would be easy. The problem with people is that they buy too much expensive cuts of meat. They need to look at other expensive cuts, less cuts of meat than they used to than steaks. That's the problem with affordability. They should look at other things like liver. And I sat there and I thought, and if you're a historian or you do a lot of history reading, I have, the reason that beef tongue became popular and a color other like non-cults of cuts of meat became popular or liver, it's because what you could afford in depression.
Right, right.
All right. And he's saying that. And the first thing I thought, so what you're telling me, we're in a depression now.
Essentially, that's what he's saying. I
Mhm.
remember when I was a little kid, my grandmother, who grew up in the Depression, would eat something that I go, "What the fuck are you doing? Pickled pig's feet."
Yes.
I go, "Why would you even think to eat that?" But it was a Depression thing, and like tongue.
Hmm.
Um, I'm afraid if RFK Jr. went to the store and bought beef tongue, that he wouldn't use it to eat it. He'd have some other nefarious fucking way to deal with the beef
Thank
tongue.
you, Mike. I can't get that image out of my mind for the rest of the night.
Yeah,
Appreciate
yeah, I
that.
know, I know.
Oh God. But but they're blaming. But what it is back to that's what Secretary Ross said. They're blaming Americans because they don't know how to shop. And it gets worse. And then the Wall Street Journal had an article blaming younger people who complain about grocery prices because they don't know how to shop. They splurge on items like rotisserie chicken. Okay, you and I, you probably bought a rotisserie chicken at Costco or Sam's Club. It's five
Yeah,
fucking bucks.
yeah,
Do you know how much a raw chicken about that same size cost?
about
Counting on the
20.
brand, about 20, counting on the brand.
Right.
And these, see, that's the thing. That's their out. Their out is no, everything's fine. You guys just don't know it. Everything's okay. You just don't want to get with the program.
They're basically saying that if you want lower prices, you should eat cheaper. If I want less car expenses, I buy a cheaper car. Well, what if I don't? Shouldn't I have that option to be able to buy it and still be affordable? Yeah, they're trying to blame us because the prices are high, in spite of the fact they told us the prices would be low. So now they've got to spin it to make it our fault. Well, you're buying steaks. Well, I've been buying steaks for years and I had no problem with it until now when the prices have gone up. I'll wait for sales and stuff like that. Honestly, I can go to people say you go out to restaurants a lot and I do go. My wife and I eat out a lot. We ate out tonight. Um, a lot of times, it's not much less. It's not
Yes,
much more expensive to go out to eat if you know where to eat.
exactly. And
I mean,
and, and they get
I,
discounts because they build bulk. They buy
right.
bulk.
I mean, I can go to a local place on Tuesday nights, get a
Hmm.
baked potato and a ribeye steak. Now, it's not the best cut of ribeye steak that I
Nope.
might normally buy, but it's pretty good. A ribeye steak and a potato and a drink for 18 bucks. I can't buy a ribeye steak for 18 bucks in the fucking store.
Maybe $25 a pound.
Yeah,
A
yeah,
pound.
yeah,
And that's the thing. And I'm talking about like if you go low end, even at Food Lion or Kroger. We're not talking about if you go to Whole Foods or something else. But that's the thing. There is no reality with these guys because Robert F. Kennedy never had to struggle for a fucking thing in his life.
no,
He
never.
never had to figure out, what's going to work. Never had to live on ramen or mac and cheese or having to, never had to plan shit. Okay, because it always same for Mehmet Oz. Every one of the members of the fucking cabinet are rich and they
Yeah,
don't give a fuck about us. And that's the thing that chaps my ass half the time listening to people who are MAGA. You guys, most of you guys don't have a pot to piss in.
right,
And you think this is the best way to get something because it's so, as I think I'm going to steal for someone, they sold their hate for their comfort.
right.
They're fine with it. As long as everyone else is getting fucked over, I'm good. And that's just wrong. But
I got to think the beef industry can't be too happy if RFK comes out and say, "Don't buy the expensive cuts, buy the cheap cuts," because these people want to sell the steaks
yeah,
and the chuck roast and whatever else is expensive. Now they're saying, "Just don't buy it, and you'll get by cheaper." Fuck
forget
you.
about you.
I'm gonna buy whatever I fucking want. And if steaks were $5 or $6 a pound yesterday and they're $10 today, and you told me the prices are gonna go low, it's on you, you motherfuckers.
And that's the thing. The corporate, well, we keep forgetting what I think everyone are still losing the idea of it's not politics, it's classism.
Yeah,
Okay. We sold, when Reagan sold us or sold America on the trickle down theory, and then everyone that's on government assistance, basically a freeloader, people have run with that for, like we said earlier, 40, 50 years. But now people are beginning to see it doesn't work like that, but it's still hazy.
yeah,
It's still hazy to people. Well, how and when Trump made that announcement where we lifted $4.3 million of food assistance, that's not because you helped them; it's because you cut them
right.
and they're starving or they have to make do with less. All right, it's Republicans are still at war with the New Deal. That's why Social Security and Medicare are still out there. That's another reason why we have to win in November because the Republicans win that those two programs are fucked.
Yeah,
Period. Um, and they want those gone, and also they want to get rid of Johnson's war on poverty because Johnson's war on poverty, what it did was to put on equal basis, regardless of race, how the government helps people. That's where you got SNAP. That's where you got welfare and to help people out. That's the idea. It's a safety net. And it does work because the one thing that what happened in New York scares the piss out of corporations is that if you give people a wage that they can live with and a purpose, they will work their asses off. And they don't
absolutely.
believe that. They never have believed that because every one of these rich motherfuckers think we're lazy. No, we're not lazy. It's just there was just a report that a lot of Gen Zers are getting fired like in their first 8 months of a job. Okay,
Yeah, I heard that. That was
and
interesting.
companies are like, well, why? Because well, they don't want to buy into everything, and they don't follow everything, and they just don't seem committed. No, because you don't give them something to commit to. Okay, they're not going to do what we did. They're not going to die for you corporation. They're not going to die for you. That's the difference. And I
That's
wish
what
I
I
had
told.
that gumption.
That's what I told my kids. I said, in the old days, you'd get a job, they supported you, you supported them. There was some loyalty. There is absolutely no loyalty anymore. I said, if you find yourself in a position where you can better yourself and take another job, don't feel guilty about leaving
Right.
the first job because they would cut your throat if it was beneficial to them. Worry about yourself. You can't worry about somebody who's not loyal to you. So fuck them.
And and
It's
and that
all
goes
everybody for themselves.
well, yeah, and that's the thing. They think I always said I don't mind Amazon, but you could pay those people $30 an hour, which would raise my prices what, maybe $4,
Yeah.
and still make a shitload of money. And what do you get? A workforce that doesn't overturn and a workforce that's dedicated to you. Between the cost of that and decent health care, you won't have a problem. Oh, but if you have tax wise and we get universal health care, that's something companies don't have to pay for. You ever
Right.
think about that, rich fucks? Do
Yeah.
you
No
ever
shit.
think about that? If we raise the taxes a little bit on you, we take the burden of healthcare off you because you do pay it, even though I pay into some. That's not a cost you take. It becomes part of your profit, and you can still pay people high wages, and then cut out the payment for healthcare. There's your money, but that makes too much fucking sense
Well,
because they keep. Go ahead. I'm
I
sorry.
think what it says to us is that it's not just about money. It is about the cruelty. It is about keeping people down,
Right.
keeping people oppressed. We don't want you doing any better than we want you to do. And we want to have our lofty perch and you guys stay down where the serfs are supposed to stay. It's I have said that before with student loans. Why wouldn't you forgive them? You're going to the baby boomers are dying off. Gen X is dying off. All you're going to have is millennials and Gen Zs. They don't want to work the way you want to hire them. So what are you going to do? Because you're going to have nobody else but them. You're going to have to
Yes.
fucking adjust.
And I mean, no one wants. I mean, I humped enough time. My knees tell me that. I'm lucky to still have a job that doesn't require me to do that now. I can
Right.
use this, and but it's sad because you're talking about lofty parts. No, people would be content to work at an Amazon warehouse for the rest of their lives if they got paid a decent wage, raises once in a while, decent health care, and just be comfortable so they could raise their kids and have a decent home to live in. That's what the American dream is supposed to be about. The
Yeah.
rich and the rich, the problem with those people, rich, they just never enough. And what did they spend their money on? Jeffrey Epstein,
Yeah.
the Epstein class, because they have so much money, they don't know what to do with themselves. They don't know it becomes perverted. So the idea of people working for you being comfortable bugs you for some reason, which I don't get. It's not logical, but
Well,
I'm a working staff.
it's ironic that they call Medicare, Medicaid, Social Security entitlements because there's nobody more entitled than wealthy people.
Yeah,
They either get bored or they think they're above everybody else and they can do whatever they want. And if it's bad what they do, they should get a pass because they're special. And that's what's happened with Jeffrey Epstein from the very beginning. We know of a number of co conspirators that were involved in these crimes. And they've gotten a pass, not just by Republicans, but by Democrats too, because of who they were and their standing in this country. And
yeah,
that epitomizes what we're talking about a, a class war.
yeah,
People who are rich get treated better. People who are middle class and poor get treated like shit. I'd be happy to debate anybody about it, but I can show you example after example how
yeah,
that's the case, and that's what's
yeah.
got to change.
And it's for the benefit of the republic and society as a whole. And and that's the thing. Even though people who are working toward that, they fight amongst themselves about that too. It's really sad to
Yeah.
watch those people especially the far left, fight and then kind of give up. They don't get their way. I mean,
Yeah.
I don't. I'm. And the thing about it is, I saw someone. I think she calls herself Zena. She was doing. Someone was talking about why Gen Xers and millennials or they complain about everything, and she went off on them. She said they're the most complaining people. If you want a house, you sacrifice. You want to do this. Look, everyone's circumstance is different. No one is the same. I literally are sitting in my home in my garage because we were trying to buy a home, try to rent a home in Georgia. It's almost impossible because corporations buy tracts of these things.
Right.
There are hedge funds that own fucking neighborhoods in Georgia.
Yeah.
Okay. And the rents are ridiculous. So I told my wife, let's see if we can buy it. Can we? Oh, we'll see. So we put it together and we got lucky. I got lucky getting this house that I'm sitting in. It was just one of the things that came in, and I got lucky with who I was working with. There's a lot of people who didn't get lucky as I did. I know it. A lot of
Oh,
people who
yeah.
don't have a steady job like I do. A lot of people who can't get out of because again complaints. Well, why don't you get out of your parents' house? Because it's not that fucking easy anymore. You dumb fucks. It's not.
No, no, it is
And
dramatically tougher. I mean, there are some people who have good jobs that get paid well. I mean, I have a son and a daughter-in-law that make pretty good money. They bought a house and everything's fine. I've got another son who's younger, who's working a job, not the job he wants, but given the circumstances and the way the job market is now, you do what you do. He
mhm,
stays in our second bedroom, which I don't have a problem with. It's fine.
yeah,
He's gone most of the time anyway, but he needs a place to have an address and to lay down now and again. And at his age, in his early 30s, um, when we were in our early 30s, we weren't doing that,
no,
but because we could buy a house.
yeah. And again, if you set the economy up where it's more opportunity, then there's choices. There are no choices in this current economy. It's
No,
survival. And I don't give a shit what they have. And that's the sad thing about losing what Biden was doing the economy. It was starting to build toward that. People were starting to pick up, but people couldn't wait. And they got sold a bill of goods by this con man who, when we haven't touched on it, that State of the Union address, I have no words for it. I have never seen anything like that. Never heard anything like that. I mean, he literally could have been 15 minutes, just tell all the lies and walk away. He told
yeah,
most of his lies up front. No, we're not the hottest country in the world. And the whole thing, we're always winning. With so much winning. Winning what? Who are
yeah.
we winning
Winning what?
against? Who we could what I do because that's the thing. He's so transactional in his world. He never talked about the American people. He never talked about everyone being one. He never talked about the republic or the country. He talked about himself and just all that bullshit we saw. And to watch the Republicans stand like barking fucking seals
Yeah.
just tells you everything. And all that did was solidify their death coming up in November.
I agree.
I,
I agree because there's going to be videos of these things supporting the stuff that Donald Trump did, and people aren't going to like it. I want to bring something up
yeah.
only because between the time we record this and the time people hear it, something could have already happened, and that's about Iran.
Oh,
And the
yes.
reason I'm saying it's more eminent or seems more eminent is because of what Donald Trump is suggesting. He told people in Israel, Americans in Israel, if you're going to get out today. He was talking about the talks with Iran, and he said, yeah, they didn't go too well. How long is that going to go before Donald Trump does the dumbest thing he's ever fucking done and bombs Iran? Because I think that will be the one of the final straws for Donald Trump. That will backlash on him so badly in the Republican Party, there won't be any room for them to fucking gain any ground for a long time.
I mean, his military has warned him not to do this. Um, they and it coincides with that statement. What he said, it's coincide that they finally got the Gerald R4 back on the sea.
Right.
So it's back on in play. What what concerns me is that he wants to do it, but they think in military circles, not true military people, but Pete Hesketh circles, that Iran is Venezuela, that it doesn't have a punch. It has a
That's a
punch.
mistake. That's a
That's a
mistake.
mistake. Also, they have $500 billion in spending that they have not used. Why? Because the incompetent shits running the Pentagon right now don't know what to spend it on. Meanwhile, the Joint Chief of Staff has warned the president, we're down to half our munitions. We're out of fucking bullets, people.
Yeah.
How does that happen? We're not even at war. We're out of bullets? And I use that
Apparently.
as an aphorism because you can talk missiles and all. This is but put it down to the brass tacks. You're telling we're out of bullets. And this man created the problem. Now he's going to solve it by doing Netanyahu a solid. Because
Pretty
Netanyahu
much.
wants Iran erased. It's just I hate the idea that they're playing on that man's ego. And also, let's be honest, he can hear the footsteps of the Epstein files behind him. He
Yeah.
can hear that shit. It's coming. So this might be just how long? If we get through the weekend, I'll be surprised.
Do you think
I got
so?
a feeling, yeah, I got a feeling it's going to be a Sunday morning surprise for us.
So by the time you hear this, we may have already had. That's what I was going to
Might
ask you.
or the days after. Um, that's the only thing. But one other thing you have to keep also on the horizon. Trump also said that he has offered Cuba because they are in economic straits because of us cutting off their oil from Venezuela. And also, you saw that speedboat that came out of Florida and tried to infiltrate Cuba. It was Cuban nationals,
Hmm.
and no one it stole a boat. Blah 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 blah. It's MAGA Bay of Pigs. And I thought Bay
All
of
right.
Pigs was stupid. This is even worse. Um, that was a testing ground. So we may be on war at two fronts. They may go after Cuba. Now, that's not going to be easy because the Cuban people will not give up. That will be a foot war, and that is worse.
No, it is worse. And is Cuba still aligned with Russia or some other bigger
So
country that we're
Putin
going
has
to
cut
piss off?
off. Putin cut off the Cubans long ago.
So do
He
they
cut them
have
off.
anybody that supports them?
Nope. Other than maybe other, they're pretty much on their own. They're dependent on Venezuela for oil. They're kind of stuck. There has been some shipments of food from other that I don't know what the Latin American countries are going to react if Trump makes a move on Cuba. Um, we don't know. That's another thing that's gearing up because he's just basically saying, "Hey, just give us the country, let us run it for you, and all be good. All
Well,
right,
see,
we can
that
solve
was
your problems."
people can kind of finally see what his strategy is. You go in there, make it difficult for Cuba, and then he thinks he can just walk in and say, "Hey, we'll take over this place." And I think you'll be surprised by how many people aren't fond of that idea.
The only
Um,
people fond of it are he said that because we have plenty of Cuban nationals that want to go home and run the country. Oh, okay, in Florida. So he's thinking, I get rid of two problems: a communist government in Cuba and the Cubans in Florida.
but
Yeah.
but
Oh.
but here's the thing: remember Cuba of the '50s? Who
Mm-hmm.
ran Cuba in the '50s?
Batista, he was a dictator.
But who really ran Cuba in the
The
'50s?
the the American corporations and mafia, big time
There you
mafia.
go. There you go. I think he's looking to get it back to that.
Oh,
Uh,
Jesus.
well, maybe make it a gambling mecca again, because that's Donald Trump. Create a fucking resort everywhere you go, because that's the answer. Now, I don't know what Cuba's state is. I've never been to Cuba, but Donald Trump's just looking at his property, like he's looking at Gaza as property. I
Right.
can put something up, build something, and put my name on it and be just a big old star. But the problem is, Cuba has human beings on it, human beings that will be marginalized or killed because of
Yes.
this. And Donald Trump doesn't give a fuck.
And it won't work the way they say. See, this is the thing. You have the good military planners have been flushed out. The people that are top that were with the Biden administration or years before are gone. What you have is sycophants and people who think the U.S. that any time the U.S. military shows the flag, everyone will bow before them. That's
Right.
where we're at. They literally, I mean, Steve Whitcock, that freaking loser real estate agent who is now, I don't know why Marco Rubio even bothers to be Secretary of State. He doesn't do anything. Steve
No.
Witkoff is the true Secretary of State, to be honest. And Jerry Kushner, he's the money guy. Those are the
Yeah.
two guys that are Trump's front man in the international world. Should be your Secretary of State. But Witkoff, when they asked him about Iran, he goes, well, I don't know why they haven't given up yet, given us what they want. It's not going to go well for them if they don't. Oh, okay. You're just saying that we're going to bomb the shit out of them and it's all
Yeah.
going to go away. It's not. That's the thing. It's not going to go away. This is a different country and a different attitude. And the Iranians do have technology and they do have weapons. And it's not going to be good. And it could
Well,
escalate. And how are you going to do regime change for bombing everyone? You're going to have to put boots on the ground, dude.
and the thing about it is if he thinks we can just easily take over Venezuela, Cuba, and Iran, how come we couldn't take over Vietnam? How come we couldn't take over Korea? How come we couldn't take over Afghanistan? It doesn't, like I've always said, Donald Trump will always fuck it up. He may have this brilliant plan, but we know he'll fuck it up in the end. It will go badly because that's how Donald Trump does business. And if you're going to go to Cuba and if you're going to um, Iran, Iran's fucking huge. It's got 93 million people and they got bombs and they got military. There's going to be Americans that are going to
And
get killed in this thing. And then he's going to go, oh, I never imagined. I thought we were the
they are
strongest people in the world.
they are fucking ruthless. They
Yeah.
they have been keeping their people in check through ruthlessness that you don't understand. I mean, 3 years ago, women went protesting because they killed the religious police killed a woman who wasn't wearing her burqa, and women protested for weeks. And what was their solution? They murdered as many as they could.
Yeah.
I mean, that's a fact. This next set of protesters is mostly economic because, like any fascist state, the rich get richer and the poor get poorer. Okay. And
Right.
people just are tired of being poor. This is not even political. It's about getting, being fed and how do they handle that brutally. Okay. Now, Trump is probably a little jealous. He would love to do that here in the United States,
Yeah.
but
Well, they're trying.
they're trying. But the point is that, he's saying that he's going to do this to protect the protest. He wants to do a regime change. Um, Memos of leaks inside the White House said that he wants to be the one to bring Iran back to where it was before it was lost under Jimmy Carter. Okay, which it wasn't. That was coming regardless. But Carter,
Yeah.
unfortunately, was in that mess and the seat when it happened. So he has these fucked up dementia delusions of grandeur, and his people around him, like Pete Hesketh, is the same ilk.
Yeah.
Pete Hesketh believes that the world is simple, that whatever America wants is ordained by God.
Right.
Honestly, he believes in manifest destiny. And if they can't get it through Canada and Mexico, they're going to get it, around the world. And they've been surprised. They've been surprised what the Europeans reacted to him. They really were surprised by the Europeans' reaction to their threats. They laughed at him, like the Greenland thing, which he still talks about once in a while. They didn't expect that. They expect the Danish to go, okay. No, the Danes go, no, absolutely no. And they don't get it. And they say, why? Because, I mean, it's like talking to a child. Why?
It really
Because,
is.
I
It really
mean,
is.
and all the children around him, all these people around him live in a fantasy world that we are going to pay the price for. And so if he bombs Iran, I don't know what's going to happen. I don't know. And if Israel gets involved, they'll get involved very little. They're literally the guy in the back that doesn't fight in a bar fight, egging it on. And when the shit falls, he's the guy under the table when shit's flying. That's what
Yeah.
Israel is right now. Okay, they're too busy committing a genocide. Oh, by the way, guys, how'd that fucking work out with you? How did that no
Yeah.
Kamala vote for you? Rafah is bulldozed. They're still killing people in Palestine daily. How's that working for you? Hmm?
Well, here's something that people have to understand. You said that Donald Trump is doing a solid for Benjamin Netanyahu to start this war with Iran, and people need to understand why that is. Benjamin Netanyahu can stay in his position as long as they're at war. Once they're
Mm-hmm.
out of war, he's probably going to get kicked out, prosecuted, and sent to jail. He's killed almost everybody in Gaza, so he needs another platform to go to
Right.
war. So Iran is that war. That's why they've been fucking with Iran all along, because he needs another war. And it's just going to keep going like this as long as Benjamin Netanyahu's in power. And Donald Trump is a dumb. Let me ask you this. I've talked about this in 3 podcasts. It seems silly, but when you understand the times we're in, it's not so silly. Some people are wondering why Netanyahu has the power over Donald Trump to push him to bomb Iran. Some people have suggested that given that we know Epstein files are all over Europe, clearly, that he may have an Epstein file thing that says, hey, motherfucker, you better do this, otherwise I'm going to release this. And then some other people said, well, if they have it, it's conceivable through by way of Russia, who
Mm-hmm.
backs Iran, they could have it too. Well, you're in a pickle now if you've got both sides willing to expose you. If you don't do what they want to do, he's got a problem. Either way, he loses. If that, I hope it's true.
Yeah, part of it too is that I think Netanyahu's promising him that the whole him and I think he's promised Jared Kushner first crack at the land in Gaza. Honestly, I think so because that's a transactional. You do me a solid, you'll get this. Cool.
Do you
I'm going to pay for it.
do they understand where they're doing this? If they put in a soccer stadium or a resort, how safe is that area going to be going on in the future? There's
Well,
going to
if
be bombs. There's going to be terrorist
mm,
attacks. There's going to be all kinds of shit.
they're thinking, no, once you sterilize the place, you won't have a problem because they think like that in security risk. They think
Stupid.
once they clear out everyone in there, because that's the thing. There will be no Palestinians in Gaza. You guys got to grip onto that, okay? Their plan from day one is to have no Palestinians in Gaza. That's the plan. That's what a genocide is, guys.
And what people have to understand is what Benjamin Netanyahu is doing and Donald Trump is assisting is essentially genocide or ethnic
Genocide.
cleansing. Ethnic
Exactly.
cleansing. And that's who we are now. We're
Yep.
ethnic cleansers. I mean, Donald Trump's trying to do it in this country, trying to get rid
Yeah,
of brown people.
exactly.
So what the fuck?
And but so we don't it's the worst thing about this is that he's going to do it. He wants to do it. He needs to do it. It's part of him. His dementia is rolling. That's what I'm saying. He could wake up. This is Friday, 9:51 p.m. Eastern Standard Time, 1 a.m. Saturday morning. He may be calling everyone, go, let's do it,
Yeah.
because he woke up in a bad mood, or his dementia is because we're dealing with literally a sick man in many ways. That
And with
man
his
is not well.
and with his personality, the more people tell him no, he's more likely to do it because he has to show them that he's right. He'll be wrong. He'll be deadly wrong. But people telling him no is the exact wrong thing to do. You
Right.
got to manipulate him some other way. show him how stupid he's going to look or show him how he's going to lose something.
The
But
military,
Donald Trump doesn't have much else he can do right now.
yeah, the
He's losing.
military has been keeping away from Iran for a while, using Venezuela and Cuba. They literally have been basically like a dog with a stake. No, no, don't look over here. Look over here. Look over here.
Yeah.
Look over here. That's because that's what they have to do with him. But they're out of options now, and so they may be stuck with something they don't want to do. So that's the immediate future. But one thing we didn't talk about, I've got to, and I know we're coming to the end. One thing we want to bring up is all the things they're trying to do for the midterm elections. To everyone who keeps doing a video talking about the SAVE
Yeah.
Act is dead.
Yeah. It's
It's
dead.
dead in the Senate. John Thune has already said it's dead. They're not. They don't even have. They have. Even if they could override the filibuster, they still don't have. He talked to us that he doesn't have enough senators, even without a filibuster,
Right.
to pass this. So it's dead. So I don't want to hear any more videos about that. I want to talk about the idea, but you got to go get your passport and all that. Stop it. It's gone. The other thing, this
Well,
whole thing that happened. Go ahead.
the other thing he says he's going to do an executive order, and he can't really do that
Can't
either.
really do it. Can't do it. I'm an executive order. Everyone has an idea across the country, and the states are going to go. Constitution says we do the elections. We can look.
Right.
If you want to see it, we're going to do our own thing. Everyone's still panicking about here in Fulton County, Florida, and Georgia, here around Atlanta. They're like, I mean, even here's the thing, and Republicans in the state wanted to use that to take over the elections in Fulton County. The head of the election commission, who is a Republican, said, no, we can't. No, Fulton County's fine. That was all based on false stuff done in 2020.
Right.
Yeah, that's the thing. No one's panicking over about it anymore. They got your information. Yeah, from fucking 6 years ago.
Yeah.
It doesn't matter.
There.
I mean, go ahead.
6 years ago, you got a bunch of people that are dead, a bunch of people that just became voters after that, plus all
Mm-hmm.
the people that moved and did.
Right.
It's not worth anything.
It's ridiculous. And so basically the panic has gone down on that. I can see and reading the coverage on that. They're just pissed that the FBI got some false news, false things to arrest people.
Yeah.
And now they're pushing this executive order to declare national emergency so Trump can declare the elections being taken by the federal government because according to the 2020 elections, Chinese interfered with the elections. Because what happened in 2020, based on information that's already been debunked, put out by someone who was a J6er and one of those false guys from that time, using the same evidence already been debunked. It's
Right.
not going to work. I know Trump said that the 2020 election, blah, blah, because he's butthurt. He will always be butthurt, especially here in
He'll never
Georgia.
let that go. He'll
They're
never
never
let
going
it
to let
go.
that go. That's not going to happen, guys. Take a deep motherfucking breath. Because I pop on Brian Tyler Cohen the other day, and he's got the guy from Democracy Watch talking about that, and he says, "I knew it. Here it comes. We had to be aware." I'm going, "Fuck, dude. Do you understand how this works? I thought you were a lawyer. It doesn't work like that." They had a thing about the SAVE Act. See, I told you. Come join our group, dude. It's not going to happen. Okay,
No.
it's not. The elections. I want everyone to take a deep breath. The elections are going to happen. Now, I would recommend don't get mail in ballots unless you have to, because the Postal Service is going to be key to stop those. That's fine. They're already slowing down mail as it is now. I recommend voting early in person. Vote early in person. Don't do it the same day. When they say the polls are open, go.
Yeah.
Don't, because that will be less hassle. Because if anyone's going to show up on the polling place, it's going to be the day of. Okay, vote early. And the thing about it, I know if they do something that's going to change the rules, people will adjust to vote. Americans are not going to go, oh, he did that, we quit. No, they're at this point right now. where they're going to go, fuck this. How do I vote? How do I vote? I saw a couple of people in Texas where they tried to pull this. Well, we can't find you to register. Really? And these people went out of the way to vote. They found a way to vote in Texas. The American people, to all you MAGA fucks and to Project 2025 people, the majority of the American people, you woke them the fuck up.
Yeah.
You were fine when they were asleep and letting everything kind of slide. But you woke them the fuck up between ICE, between fucking with the economy, between fucking with our rights. That's the
Right.
thing. We have grown up under the Constitution and being told we have these rights. We're not constitutional lawyers, but we know the First Amendment, we know the Fourth Amendment, we know the Fifth Amendment. We know we have due process. There are people, that's what people scream when they see ICE agents. They have due process, they have due process. They're not lawyers. Everyone
Exactly.
knows that. They scream it in Spanish. The point is, as anyone on the American soil is protecting the Constitution. And you guys on the 250th anniversary of this republic want to take that all from us. Not happening. And
No,
I
good
know
luck with that.
there are days where you notice it's tiresome to hear their shit. But I tell you one thing, what I saw on the State of the Union address wasn't I was just mad. And I
Yeah.
got madder watching this man just lie and take advantage of our our medals for people to make fun of the Congressional Medal of Honor, saying I want one myself, to take lie after lie, and then basically at the end of that speech, I thought he ran out of breath.
Yeah, he was falling apart.
Yeah, and so what I tried, because I see this all the time. Is it going to be easy? No. Is it going to be a fight? Yes. But I think everyone's up for the fight. Everyone's up for the
Yeah.
fight. They're not. No, they're not. No one's quitting. Everyone's stepping up. Yes, right now it's really bad. We got detention centers. We have children in detention centers. Here's one good little thing. You heard what they do in that Dilley, Texas center? They
Yeah.
have something called the butterfly section, which is like young girls in it,
Oh
separated.
well.
And I heard that. I'm going, oh, okay. That seems to track.
Yeah,
And
it
the,
does.
the
It's disgusting.
and so the one plan you guys have to do, we have to vote early and vote to understand that that is the way we break their backs and we get these our constitutional rights again. Because once we break them, even if we hold the house, the panic will be palpable. And I don't know, maybe Eric's right. I was listening. Does he last another couple months? I don't know. Man is like freaking. I don't know how he does it. How they keep propping him up.
Yeah,
But
it's hard to
I don't.
imagine.
I can't imagine he can't go as long as he does. And if that he goes, the movement's going to go.
Yeah.
I mean, that's simple as that. But you guys, we make aware. We're going to make fun of them. We're going to point out their stupidity. But we have an opportunity in November to vote and keep your eye on the prize. Vote for the person you want in the primary. If they don't win, don't vote for the Republican, or worse, walk away from the vote.
Right.
But vote early. And that's my message to them all tonight.
Absolutely. Well, we're going to wrap things up, Will, but tell everybody where they can find you.
Again, I'm on TikTok. It's RJ12764 TikTok. Don't know how long that's going to last because I got a couple warnings for comments, which I don't make sense to me, but fine. That's TikTok is TikTok. Substack, Binder 38 US, BINDER 38 US at Substack and YouTube. Substack, I do have a paid subscription if you want to help this poor guy trying to retire. And it's only $8 a month. I would love it. Just sign up. Thank you very much. I have an email address if you want to send me an email, which is KUMQUAT, the number 6 at Outlook, kumquat6 at outlook.com. And if you want to send me a text, emoji of a middle finger, whatever makes you feel good, 470-236-2403. I'm out there. Hit me up. And this is what we do until we can't do it anymore. And I'm looking forward to the day where I can pop open that bottle of champagne I have in the fridge.
Absolutely. Absolutely. For those of you listening and watching, I thank you for taking the time. I hope you have a great day, and we'll talk to you again tomorrow.